It's Ollie from History Profiles, and this story will be about a man who was born into royalty and lived a lavish lifestyle. As a member of the Han Dynasty, he was meant to protect and serve his citizens. However, he would do the complete opposite. The following is what can occur when a man has power and other people serving him, combined with psychopathic tendencies. Anyway, let's get into the video. Liu Pengli was born sometime in the 2nd century BC in Liang. His father was called Liu Wu, but also went by another name, Prince Zhao of Liang. Liang was a kingdom in the Han Dynasty and is located within modern-day Henan in China. Liu Pengli's grandfather was Emperor Wen, the head of the whole Han Empire. When King Zhao of Liang died, he left his son Liu Pengli a big portion of his kingdom, as he would divide it with his other sons. As Liu Pengli grew up, he surrounded himself with outlaws and warriors, and he apparently had a reputation for being arrogant. He was hot-headed, and his behaviour seemed to sometimes be erratic. Now, Liu and his men would regularly go on expeditions, but these were no regular outings from the palace. He would go to prey on the weak and hunt for human life. You see, Liu Pengli was an infamous serial killer, and he would bring his men with him. They would kill innocent people from villages and seize their belongings for the sheer sport and for no reason at all. The villagers were not an enemy faction, nor spies, nor traitors. They were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, and Liu, being the prince, was out of harm's reach and continued to massacre the innocent for his own sick pleasure. The men that would travel and kill with him would soon become almost like disciples, his devoted cult warrior followers, and Liu would travel the kingdom together, searching for victims to rob and kill. The number of deaths were on the rise, and the common people of the kingdom would hear of the horrors of what was going on, not knowing that it was their own prince and ruler that was murdering them for sport. It even got so bad that the common people would barricade themselves inside their houses at night, as they were so afraid that the bandits would come and kill all of them. The common people would do this as they had heard that a group of men had been murdering anyone they came across, be it on the road or in a house. Eventually, after hundreds of deaths and half of the kingdom living in fear, people began to talk, and there was evidence that came to Liu's ear about him having attended these murderous raids on the innocent. Even so, at this point, the emperor was his uncle, and he was the prince of a province. It was simply the superstitious common people's word against his. Thus, he would continue killing simply for sport, for a time. However, a letter finally reached the emperor, accusing Liu Pengli of mass murder. At this point, it is said that Liu had been ruling his kingdom for over 20 years. The emperor finally took action against this accusation and launched an investigation on his nephew for the allegation of mass murder. It was discovered that Liu had murdered hundreds of people for no reason, and that it was done simply because he enjoyed it. The emperor called his nephew to his palace to await judgment. When it came to Liu's fate, he was spared by the emperor, as his uncle just couldn't sentence to death his own blood. However, he was stripped of his lands and titles, all his assets were seized, and he was to live as an outcast and going to exile. He had been banished to live like a common man in a distant land. Sima Qian, a Chinese historian who lived around that time, wrote this about Liu. He was arrogant, cruel, and would go out on marauding expeditions with tens of slaves or young men who were in hiding from the law, murdering people and seizing their belongings for sheer sport. Confirmed victims exceeded 100, and these murders were known across the kingdom. So many people were afraid of leaving their homes at night. Eventually, the son of one of his victims accused him to the emperor, and the officials of the court requested that Liu Pengli be executed. However, The emperor could not bear to have his own nephew killed, and Liu Pengli was made a commoner and banished to the county of Shanyang. In 116 BC, his sovereignty was abolished and his land was reclaimed by the emperor. That is the evidence we have recorded about this man. Do you think he may have been framed, as when his land was dissolved, it was brought under the control of the Han government, and many other kingdoms were being absorbed into it at this time? With the word of Sima Qian, we have an idea about what people from his time thought about him and what his reputation was. Due to the evidence against Liu, he is now remembered as one of the world's earliest serial killers. However, we shall never know for a certainty whether Liu was a victim of false allegations and was banished as an innocent man, or if he was a sick mass murderer who got away lightly with his crimes and was able to start a new life as your average man. When he restarted his life as a common man, do you think that his rampage continued? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another video. Bye.